Hi everyone, it's Miss Matsike here. So I'm doing a video to do our SPAG lesson for today, like we would normally do in the classroom on a Friday. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the PowerPoint, talk us through it like we would do if we were in the classroom. So our LO today is to use dashes to indicate parenthesis. So this is brand new, this is something we've never done before, but it is part of the year 5 writing objectives. You do need to know how to use dashes, okay? So I'm trying to record with one hand and go through the PowerPoint with the other hand, so apologies in advance if it's a little bit shaky. Also, further apologies if you can hear the snoring dog that's sat next to me here. Okay, so let's start. So there is different types of dashes, okay? So dashes can perform a similar function to brackets surrounding additional information in a sentence. So for example, the train which was late was heading to Paris. So here you might have noticed they've used a relative clause in their sentence. So the relative clause is which was late. So remember with the relative clause, if you take it out, the sentence can still make sense. So if I covered up here, which was late, I would have the train was heading to Paris. That would still make sense, okay? It says here, take care not to confuse dashes and hyphens. So don't worry too much about hyphen because you don't actually learn what that is until you are in year 6. So dashes are long marks. They are used between words with a space either side. Hyphens are short marks. They are used in the middle of words with no spaces. So, an interesting fact, on an old-fashioned typewriter, 2 hyphens typed one after the other were used instead of a dash. So we use a dash to add additional information. This extra information is called parenthesis. So for example, the man was plainly dressed, so he would not be noticed in a black suit. So the point of the dash and the parenthesis is it's giving extra information. So instead of just saying the man was plainly dressed in a black suit, he's saying why he was plainly dressed. So the man was plainly dressed, dash, so he would not be noticed, dash, in a black suit. So the point of your dashes is to add the extra information, and the extra information is called parenthesis. There is a space on either side of the dash. This part of the sentence gives the extra information that could be removed. So we could just have the man was plainly dressed in a black suit. However, we've added that extra information in there. The sentence would still make sense without the part within the dashes. So, when a parenthesis is completely removed, the sentence is still grammatically correct. So, as we've just said, the man was dressed in a plain suit. So make sure, just like you do with a relative clause, if you were to take that extra information away, the sentence would still make sense, okay? A parenthesis can be separated from the rest of the sentence by using commas, dashes, or brackets. All of these are called parentheses, so you can use any of those 3 methods to add the extra information, but today we are going to focus on using dashes. So 2 dashes mark out extra information inserted in a sentence which is grammatically complete without it, similar to brackets. So James Bond, though I can't quite believe how, jumped straight over the car, rolled and ran off into the woods. So if we were to take that extra information away, we would have James Bond jumped straight over the car, rolled and ran off into the woods. It would still make sense without that parenthesis there. So without, though I can't quite believe how. So if I covered that up, my sentence would still make sense, okay? So that's really important to remember that it still makes sense. I can't stress that enough. So the dashes here add extra information to the sentence like brackets would, but they draw more attention to what has been added. So the double dash. So let's play a dashes for parentheses quiz. So which sentence correctly uses dashes for parentheses? So what I want you to do now, I'm going to read them out. I'd like you to pause the video, okay? And just write down on a piece of paper or in your mind A, B and C and remember it. Then press play and see if you got it right. So, A, Sumatran tigers, sadly now in danger of extinction, can swim very well because their paws are webbed. So if you were to take out the middle part, would that still make sense? Have a look at B. If you were to take out the middle part, would it still make sense? Have a look at C. If you were to take out the middle part in the dashes, which part would still make sense? So have a read of it, pause the video and write down your answer, okay? Then we've got the next one. Zebras, well known for their black and white stripes, can reach speeds of 40 miles per hour when running. Zebras, well known for their black and white stripes, can reach speeds of 40 miles per hour when running. Zebras, well known for their black and white stripes, can reach speeds of 40 miles per hour when running. Have a look again. Is it A, B or C? And write that down. Meerkats, those extraordinary digging creatures, live together in large groups. So have a think about it. If I covered up live together, would the sentence still make sense? Meerkats, those extraordinary digging creatures in large groups. Which one still makes sense if you take it out? Same for this one. Have a read, pause it, write down A, B or C. Do the same for this one. Okay, so the dramatic dash. The dash is a punctuation mark that can be used when you want to emphasise additional information. So we have already learned about using a dash in pairs to surround additional information that we want to emphasise. Whereas brackets must always be used in pairs, only one dash is required. If the parenthesis comes at the end of a sentence, a dash found by itself can be used to separate something dramatic and usually contrasting at the end of the sentence from the start of the sentence. So the idea is to shock or surprise the reader at the very end of the sentence. So for example, it was a long wait, perhaps the longest of his life. This sentence would still make sense without the part of the dash. So it was a long wait. That sentence would still make sense, okay? There should be a space, same as before. So there should be a space before and after the dash. This information creates a surprise at the end of the sentence. So the difference between the dashes, brackets and paired commas. How do you know whether to use a bracket, a dash or commas? So think about these three sentences. Miss Moneypenny, who had travelled from America to England to see James, said that the mission was a huge success. Miss Moneypenny, who had travelled from America to England to see James, said that the mission was a huge success.